Banaza is a good-for-nothing, pathetic loser who has never felt the touch of a woman. His entire life changes when he gets teleported to another world where he gets treated like trash for being weak. But things take a turn for the good when he comes across a demon with two massive reasons to be loved by people. In the royal capital, Paluma, demi-humans are forced into hard labor by humans. However, Banaza, our main character, treats them equally and even pays them for their work. The demi-humans try to refuse the payment, but Banaza, being kind-hearted, insists they accept it and have lunch. Seeing all this, the capitalist traders from America call him a hypocrite, which makes Banaza wonder why they all can't live in harmony. Suddenly, Banaza is teleported to another world, finding himself surrounded by priests and a man who welcomes him to the magical kingdom of Clearode. The man calls Banaza a hero candidate. Banaza is confused, struggling to understand what is happening, as the man explains that Banaza has been summoned to protect their kingdom from the Dark Army. He is then asked to place his hand on an orb that'll determine his magical energy. As soon as his skills get appraised, they realize that Banaza is just a pathetic loser who has no divine revelation. Just then, another guy is summoned from some other world, and that edgy guy turns out to be insanely overpowered. Seeing this, the demi-humans and all the priests start simping over him. After this, the ugly king of the kingdom declares the other man as the hero. Banaza is told he cannot return to his own kingdom because the gate used to summon him is now closed. They give him special permission to stay in the Lv1 forest. On his way there, Banaza asks the demi-human escorting him some questions about this world, but gets completely ignored just as my crush ignores me. He then questions the demi-human if he's in a slave contract with the king. In response to this, the guy starts laughing and reveals that humans and demi-humans live in harmony in this world. He then instructs Banaza to bottle up and closes the door. Later on, as they reach the forest, the demi-human hands over a small pouch to him and warns him to get out of here if he wants to survive. After this, Banaza takes a sword from his pouch and notes how worn out it looks. Soon he encounters some slimes and defeats them, reaching level 2 and leveling up all his stats. Not realizing the significance of the infinity symbol next to his stats, Banaza still thinks he's a pathetic loser. Feeling lonely, he activates the voice instruction feature. The voice tells him that the pouch has a locator spell and another spell that attracts monsters. This makes him realize that the Trash King. Following this, as he is about to enter the forest, the voice warns him that the forest is heavily polluted by malicium, which refers to liquid and gas produced by demons. The voice then asks if he wants to purify the entire forest, and without thinking any further, Banaza agrees to this. Meanwhile, the princess of the kingdom confronts her good-for-nothing father for sending Banaza to the Lv1 forest. According to her, it was their fault for summoning Banaza into this world, but the king doesn't accept his mistake and calls Banaza trash. Just then, a man appears in front of him and reports that the ultimate holy magic spell has been cast. Upon hearing this, the king is overjoyed, assuming the hero cast the spell. However, the man goes on to reveal that the spell was actually cast in the forest where Banaza was sent. This revelation surprises everyone present. Meanwhile, Banaza utilizes a unique skill shapeshift to alter his appearance so he can venture inside town. While choosing the gender, he actually chooses female and turns into a beauty with massive melons.
Yeah, boy, help me.
But transposes his choice immediately. This time, he turns into a stud. Now that he has altered his appearance, it's time for Banaza to venture to Castletown. The voice suggests using teleportation for instant travel, and Banaza agrees. Upon arriving in town, he heads to the guild, where he learns everything about being an adventurer. Since he can't register as Banaza, he uses the name Fleo, which was his old dog's name. After this, while looking for some random jobs, he notices a girl pleading with people to escort her to the Lv1 forest, but everyone refuses her request. Seeing this, Bazana approaches her and offers to escort her. As they are conversing, he accidentally utters teleportation magic, which shocks the entire guild. Just then, some other adventurers appear at the spot and label him a child trafficker for lying about using teleportation magic. To clear his name, Banaza urges them to accompany him, and they agree. He then casts teleportation magic, transporting all of them to the forest. This makes them wonder if he might not be an average loser, but a high-level mage. They also apologize for their rude behavior. Meanwhile, the little girl is shocked to see that the forest is no longer covered in Milicium. This revelation makes the other women realize that the girl is actually a demon, and they threaten her to reveal her true identity. The girl takes their insult to heart and transforms into a massive wolf demon named Fenris. She was instructed by her brother to scout the enemy and gather the prey. The adventurers, on the other hand, were not expecting such a high-caliber demon to appear there. However, much to the demon's surprise, Banazas was not affected by her Milicium at all and decides to get rid of him. Banazas has no other choice but to teleport the others back to the town, and after doing this, he unleashes all his magic spells to defeat the demon. After teleporting the useless women to the town, Banazas is up against Fenris the demon. With no other option, he decides to use all the magic spells in his arsenal and take down the demon. He manages to dodge its attacks with Meteoric Leap and then counterattacks with Whirlwind. The demon escapes the attack, but Banazas traps it with gravitation magic. The monster tries to escape using instant teleportation, but Banazas' AI dispels its magic, rendering the monster powerless. Banazas, meanwhile, is figuring out how to capture the monster. The AI suggests using subjugation magic to make the monster his servant, but Banazas immediately rejects this idea, stating he doesn't want to make anyone his servant. The AI continues to recommend subjugation, but Banazas persists in his decision. In the meantime, the demon's magic runs out, and it surrenders, stating that a warrior without magic has no right to live. It demands that Banazas kill it, but he refuses since fighting was never his intention. He then dispels his gravitation magic and frees the demon. This shocks the demon, which questions his reasoning. Banazas asserts that being human or demon doesn't matter to him, and that he doesn't want to fight someone who has already surrendered. Hearing this, the demon transforms into a woman with massive melons.
Damn!
Banazas immediately offers her his jacket, and suddenly the woman collapses. Following all this, Banazas sets up a camp where he scans through his magic spells and remembers people deeming teleportation magic as something mighty. This makes him ponder why he can use such a magic spell. Meanwhile, Fenris also awakens from her sleep and notices that her magic has already been replenished. She then approaches Banazas and questions if he casted healing magic on her, to which he replies positively. Fenris explains that it would have been natural if she had been killed and skinned, but Banazas saved her. She then pledges that she would never hurt humans again and acknowledges Banazas as her master. Banazas steadfastly refuses to accept being called her master, but Fenris persists, suggesting she could carry his belongings or even become his servant. Despite Banazas rejecting these proposals, he eventually relents after seeing Fenris in tears, allowing her to accompany him. He shares the story of his past, revealing how he was summoned to this world under the label of a pathetic loser. Despite learning all this, Fenris pledges to stand by him. Meanwhile, the hero's entire army is decimated by magic beasts, prompting the hero to blame the knights for their demise. However, the ugly king harbors doubts and interrogates his knight. The knight reveals that the hero fled and abandoned his troops in fear upon encountering monsters. As the hero ponders why his stats aren't increasing, he is suddenly joined by another woman with noticeable physical attributes who accompanies him to his room. Amidst all this, Banazas takes Fenris to the town and decides to get her registered with the Adventurers Guild. As they are venturing through the town, a trader mistakes them for a couple, and Banazas deems this a good strategy to avoid misunderstandings. This makes Fenris insanely happy since she always wanted a husband like Banazas. Upon reaching the guild, Banazas gets Fenris registered as Rice. Just then, the guild issues an emergency announcement about an urgent request to eliminate the psycho bears heading towards the town. Fenris proposes that they take on this mission, but Banazas declines, citing his own perceived weakness. Left with no alternative, Fenris resolves to confront the psycho bears alone to demonstrate Banazas' overwhelming power. They teleport to the location where the psycho bears were sighted last. Despite Fenris's confidence in handling the situation solo, Banazas insists on accompanying her, refusing to let her face the danger alone. Hearing this, Fenris comments that they can even defeat the demon lord if they're together. Just then, they hear some women screaming and rush towards them, only to come across those useless adventurers from before. Seeing this, Fenris suggests that they leave them behind, but being a goody two-shoes, Banazas decides to help them. Just as they take down the bears, the girls recognize Banazas immediately and question him about Fenris. Banazas introduces her as his companion, which disappoints her. Suddenly, a psycho bear appears out of nowhere and ambushes Fenris, who scares the living shit out of it, and they decide to tame the bear as their pet. They even name the bear as Side. Following all this, Banazas takes the useless women to his house, where they introduce themselves as Balarosa, Blossom, Baileri, and Balano. Even though all of them are knights serving the king, they urge Banazas to take them in as his students. According to them, the hero's army was wiped out by some psycho bears, and the hero blamed everything on the knights. Now the king wants the knights to be capable enough to take down at least one psycho bear by themselves. They also admit that they are weaklings and want Banazas to teach them. Banazas wants to help them, but he is just as useless as them, so it would get difficult for him. He then reintroduces Fenris as his wife, and upon hearing this, Fenris agrees to training the useless women. Now that Banazas has agreed to help them, the women have another request. They want him to let them stay in their house, and for some reason, Fenris agrees to this as well. Meanwhile, the Demon King has been reported about the purification magic casted in the forest. This shocks him as he demands to locate the human who casted such powerful magic alone. My man Banazas wakes up to Fenris staring at his face, which shocks him, and he questions the reason behind it. Fenris reminds him that they're a married couple and are supposed to stay in the same room. Banazas remembers that Fenris was prepared to get laid last night, but he refused her polite offering, stating that they should officially get married first. He then offers to sleep in the living room, but Fenris asserts that Balarosa and the others would suspect their relationship. With no other option left, both of them have to sleep in the same room. In the present, as Fenris is helping Banazas get undressed, Balarosa appears out of nowhere and misinterprets the situation. Following this, Balarosa and the others go up against a psycho bear and get absolutely folded. This makes Banazas realize that they are just as useless as Aqua. Banazas then allotted them a room to stay in, and they shamelessly accept his offer. Just then, Fenris calls them for dinner, and much to their surprise, she has prepared some raw meat for them. Seeing all this, Banazas suggests that it would be better if she cooked the meat, but Fenris fails to comprehend the reason behind it. Realizing that he is surrounded by useless brats, Banazas decides to prepare dinner himself. Fenris, on the other hand, was a bit hesitant to try cooked meat, but after taking a bite, she fell in love with it. The following day, Banazas and Fenris take all the psycho bears they had captured to the Adventurers Guild, which shocks them as they fail to comprehend how a single individual can capture such mighty numbers. The adventurers inside the guild are also talking behind his back because they have nothing better to do. Fenris then seeks consent for venturing into the town since they still have some time before the assessment. Just then, a guy named Lv1 approaches Banazas and introduces himself, revealing that he wants to discuss something with him. As Banazas follows him into a room, Fenris also leaves the guild to learn cooking from someone in the town. Lv1 tells him that his fame has spread all across the country, and after hearing about his accomplishments, the king wants him to serve under the hero. They will also grant him knight status, and even though the guild doesn't want to let someone like him to leave, they want him to save their sorry ass. Hearing all this, Banazas concludes that he has no reason to fight those demons and refuses their offer. With this, he leaves the guild and comes across Fenris, who is all worn out. This makes him wonder if she got into a scuffle or anything. Fenris, on the other hand, cannot believe that cooking was that difficult, as during her first class, she literally blew up the entire kitchen. Meanwhile, the useless hero is enjoying his time with some women who tell him about an adventurer who is insanely overpowered. Even though the hero is a pathetic loser, he still brags about his strength and demands to bring Banazas under him. Exact 1 month has passed after this offer, and the castle is still pestering Banazas regarding this matter. Meanwhile, the useless women are doing everything except training, and Balarosa is even seeking Banazas' attention by acting weak. Fenris, however, is not giving them a single opportunity to score their goal. With all of this going on, a mysterious person with cat ears is stalking them. Later on, Fenris prepares dinner for all of them, and much to their surprise, her cooking has improved a lot. Fenris reveals that she has been taking cooking classes in the town recently, and it seems like her hard work is finally paying off. To top it all, she even made curry for Banaza. With all of this going on, the mysterious Catwoman has recognized Fenris and is shocked to see that the most feared warrior in the Demon King's army is now cooking food for her husband. Just then, Fenris appears behind her and addresses her as Illuminus. She takes her inside and questions her regarding her actions. Illuminus reveals that she is here to investigate the area while pondering about Banaza and Fenris's relationship. Even with her appraisal skill, she cannot read his stats. Illuminus then reveals that they have noticed some strange changes in this area, including the fact that there are magic beasts in this area. This makes Banaza realize that his purification magic must have worked back then. This shocks Illuminus as she realizes that Banaza is the man behind Fenris's brother, Fengaril's death. Even though Fenris knew about it, she kept quiet because she believed that it was her brother's fault for being too weak. Suddenly, Banazas and the others appear out of nowhere and apologize for eavesdropping. With no other option left, Illuminus challenges Banaza to a battle, only to get folded in mere seconds. Now that the matter is resolved, Banaza reveals everything to Banazas and the others, stating that he kept this fact a secret because he was afraid that it might trouble them. Even though it is their moral duty to report Fenris to the castle, Banazas and the others decide not to because they owe her a lot. Just then, Fenris senses massive dragons heading towards them, with Illuminus leading them. Banaza, however, gets insanely excited after seeing them, which shocks her. Seeing his carefree behavior, Illuminus instructs the dragons to attack him, but Banaza absolutely obliterates them with his holy magic. He also helps the muscle mommy to acquire the Dragon Slayer skill and enhance her level. Seeing all this, the Demon Lord decides to confront Banaza himself. Banaza reinforces a barrier that informs them about demons, as Fenris further reassures him that she'll kick anyone's ass who trespasses this barrier. Banaza, on the other hand, is still concerned about the fact that he killed Fenris's brother, but her massive melons divert his attention. Meanwhile, Banazas and the others are still shocked that their useless comrade acquired the title of Dragon Slayer that easily. Hearing all this, Banazas heads into the forest to hunt some magic beasts, which makes them believe that she's such a stoic person. Banazas, however, is crying like a little bitch because she wants the Dragon Slayer title as well. According to her, this title is so damn prestigious that it can turn a commoner into a noble. Just then, a guy approaches her from behind and questions about Banaza. Banazas questions his relationship with Banaza and Fenris, as the guy tells her that he's related to Fenris. This makes her realize that he's someone from the demon army and unsheathes her sword. With no other option left, the guy decides to leave without anything and asks her to relay his message to Fenris. He also introduces himself as Gozal. Just then, Banaza and Fenris appear at the spot and question her regarding that guy. According to Banazas was actually talking to the Dark One, which shocks her and she pisses herself. The following day, he visits them and Banaza welcomes him into their home. The Dark One is surprised to see that Banaza is able to keep his calm in front of him. Banazas also confronts the Dark One and pisses herself once again. The Dark One instructs her to sit beside him as they have some tea. Without wasting any time, the Dark One offers Banaza to join his ranks and defeat the humans, who politely refuses his offer, stating that he doesn't know shit about this world and doesn't want to fight. The Dark One then explains the past and tells him that this war has been going on for 500 years. He further tells him that the first Dark One was a reincarnate from another world and was rejected by the humans of that time. According to him, demons accepted that outsider, and this led to an all-out war between them. Amidst all this, Banazas is reconsidering her past decisions. In response to this, Banaza asks if the Dark One wants to stop the war, as the Dark One affirms that even though he doesn't aspire to rule the world, he still won't stand the humans killing his people. He keeps pestering Banaza, only to get brutally rejected, just like my crush rejected me. Besides Banaza, the Dark One is quite fascinated by Banazas, who was sitting beside him all this time. Well, she ends up falling unconscious, and upon waking up after 2 days, she comes across the Dark One, who is having breakfast with Banaza and Fenris. The Dark One keeps visiting them after this, and Banazas refuses to meet him every time. Meanwhile, some knights report to the Ugly King that a demon has been visiting Banaza for quite some time now. This makes them speculate that he must be conspiring with the demons and orders his army to invade him. Just then, the useless hero appears at the spot and demands to lead this army himself and subjugate Banazas. With all of this going on, Banazas is planning to sell some stuff in the town to make some living. Fenris suggests that he should have accepted the offer from the king and wonders if he refused because of her. Banazas assures her it wasn't because of her and further asserts that he doesn't want to fight anyone with his overwhelming abilities. Just then, the useless hero appears at the spot and offers Banazas two choices. He wants him to serve under him and become a knight. Otherwise, he will subjugate him for conspiring against the kingdom. The hero is actually quite delusional and thinks that he's some big shot, but Banazas brutally rejects his offer. The wannabe Kirito keeps pestering him, and with no other option left, Banazas decides to pack his stuff and leave this place. He uses teleportation magic and teleports his entire home to a different place. This shocks the hero and his army since they haven't witnessed teleportation magic utilized over such a large scale. In the meantime, the Dark One also appears at the spot, and a random NPC recognizes him as the demon who has been visiting Banazas. Seeing that Banazas' home is entirely gone, the Dark One gets enraged and instructs his entire army to invade the kingdom. Seeing all this, the hero pisses his pants and escapes. In the meantime, Banazas and the others have established their new home at a place far away from the royal capital. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. The demon army is causing chaos across the nation and has now reached the northern stronghold. A knight informs the ugly king of these events, who then inquires about the hero. The knight informs him that the pathetic hero is hiding in the southern stronghold after pissing himself. With no other option left, the minister suggests that they cast purification. The Dark One has been informed and orders Illuminus to withdraw, not wanting any demons to be captured. Meanwhile, the mages and the ugly king, who proves to be more capable than he appears, use purification magic to eliminate the demons. During this chaos, Banazas returns home, finding Fenris waiting at his doorstep. She attempts to seduce him, but Banazas refuses to give in to his nasty desires and decides to have lunch. During lunch, Fenris asks Banazas about his activities in the town, and he explains that he hasn't found a business partner yet, but remains optimistic. At that moment, Blossom announces she's considering selling vegetables in town because she feels she has been too useless lately. Bilary also reveals that she plans to breed horses, with Blossom adding that she used to be a horse caretaker before becoming a knight. Hearing all this, Banazas realizes that she is just trash. In the meantime, the purification magic succeeded, and the kingdom has managed to drive away the Dark One's army. According to the minister, the spell will last about 3 months, giving them time to prepare. However, the cost was enormous, as all their mages are now mana depleted and need 2 months to fully recover. Even the ugly king is unconscious, having overexerted himself participating in the purification spell. With no other option, the princess announces that she will assume her father's position according to the law. Her first decree is to strip the useless hero of his title and banish him from the castle. She decides to consult the oracle to discuss their future plans. After this, a knight throws the trash hero and his ugly lackey out. The hero attempts to argue, but the knight doesn't give a shit about it and leaves. Later that night, Banazas expresses his gratitude to Fenris for always staying by his side and helping him. The following day, Balirasa and the others suggest that Banazas and Fenris go on a date. They want them to leave the household work to their useless asses and enjoy their time together. Banazas hesitates in the beginning, but is reminded that they are married. Now he has no other option but to agree. While strolling through the market, Banazas wants to buy a present for Fenris and asks her what she would like. After careful consideration, they choose a gemstone brooch that matches Fenris's hair color. Fenris keeps staring at her brooch the entire night, making Balirasa and the others realize the date was a success. Later that night, Fenris attempts to seduce Banazas once again, but my man refuses to give in to his nasty desires and sleeps with her melons pressing on his back. Meanwhile, the useless hero and his ugly lackey have infiltrated the castle, attempting to steal the treasure. The ugly lackey asks if he has given up on being the hero, but the shameless hero insists he does not plan to live as a commoner in this world. He continues searching for something to defeat the Dark One and redeem his title. Suddenly, a mysterious voice instructs him to release it if he desires power. The voice provokes him to draw a strange sword, and being the ugly dumbass he is, the hero draws it. Suddenly, a woman appears and introduces herself as Haya, the djinn of primordial light and darkness. Seeing that the hero has released her, Haya offers to grant him 3 wishes. Amidst all this chaos, the princess summons the oracle Ursula to seek guidance for their next move. Suddenly, mysterious collars appear around their necks, shocking them. The princess quickly realizes that someone must have unsealed the djinn and orders the knights to capture them. The oracle and the princess explain that a djinn grants wishes in exchange for sacrifices. With no other options, the desperate princess asks the oracle for guidance. According to the oracle, they must find the real hero who is hiding somewhere. The ministers immediately deduce that she is referring to Banaza. The princess then decides to visit Banaza herself. In the meantime, Banaza manages to strike a deal with a local swordsmith. Seeing all this, Balarosa gets shocked and wonders how Banaza is perfect at everything. Fenris tells her that he was a traitor in his previous world, which makes Balarosa envy their relationship. Fenris then reveals that the Dark One has taken quite a liking to her disgusting self and that she might have a chance with him. On their way back, Fenris urges Banaza to spend more time with her now that he's busy with work. Suddenly, Jin Haya appears and introduces herself. The pathetic hero had actually wished for her to kill Banaza as his first request. Just as Haya is about to strike Banaza, Fenris steps in the way and gets slashed instead. The Jinn continue attacking, but Banaza's automatic defense system protects him. Banaza tries to heal Fenris, but it's in vain as the Jinn strikes him with her most powerful attack. To her surprise, her Yamcha-level attack has no effect on Banaza the goat. All of his infuriated Banaza to the point that he turns into an edgelord and decides to beat the living shit out of her, just like he beats his wife. My man Banaza just wanted to protect Fenris because she was the only one who stayed by his side and believed in a pathetic loser like him. Even though Banaza initially pushed her away, their relationship developed into something special. Even after learning that Banaza killed her elder brother, Fenris loved him, and protecting her became his entire purpose in this unfamiliar world. After being struck by Haya's magic, Banaza gains primordial light and dark magic. He uses time reversal to bring Fenris back from the dead, shocking Haya. She cannot comprehend how a mere human can use time reversal magic. Before she can react, Banaza pulls an Eren Yeager and smacks her right in the face. He relentlessly attacks Haya, and none of her spells seem to affect him. As she appraises his skills, it is revealed that Banaza actually possesses infinite skills, but his dumb ass thought he was just a useless nobody. Make sure to not become an illiterate person like Banaza and complete your assignments on time, folks. As Banaza engages with Haya, Fenris awakens to Balarosa explaining that Banaza used magic to bring her back to life. She watches Banaza fiercely fighting Haya and feels a surge of excitement. But memories of Banaza sparing her before, out of kindness, flood her mind. She realizes that such a compassionate person would never desire this. Meanwhile, Haya desperately begs Banaza for forgiveness, but he harshly rejects her, much like my constant rejections by my crush. Suddenly, Fenris appears and embraces Banaza from behind. She confesses that she fell for him because of his kindness and pleads for him not to lose that part of himself because of her. Relieved to see Fenris alive, Banaza embraces her and disregards Haya completely. Meanwhile, the princess and weary mages teleport to Banaza's town. The princess orders her useless knights to protect the mages while she searches for the true hero. Suddenly, the collars around their necks shatter, shocking them. The princess suspects that the djinn must have failed in its task. Amidst all the chaos, the useless hero finds himself trapped inside the dungeon with knights in pursuit. Suddenly, a mysterious black smoke envelops the ugly lackey's body. The smoke reveals itself as the Grand Magus of Midnight, Damalinas, who transforms the ugly hero into a massive monkey. She declares her intention to exact revenge on the royal family, who sealed her away. Meanwhile, Banaza shocks Haya by healing her, explaining that Fenris is unharmed. Balarosa arrives and discusses what to do with Haya, as handing her over to the castle knights isn't an option. Banazas suggests sealing her in the castle's treasury, surprising Haya, who questions how Banazas knows her origins. Banazas admits he accessed her memories to uncover the truth, arguing that handing her over could lead to similar problems. Fenris suddenly appears and proposes that Haya becomes Banazas' servant, claiming they can't trust the castle to monitor her, but secretly aiming to utilize her as an asset. Banazas asks Fenris if she's okay with adding Haya to their small family, despite the fact that Haya essentially tried to kill her. Fenris admits to Banazas that she lost due to her own weaknesses. After considering all options, Banazas decides to take Haya on as his servant once she pledges allegiance and promises not to take any lives. Reflecting on his actions, Banazas expresses regret, causing Haya to blush unexpectedly. He then considers using time reversal magic to repair the town, but Haya advises against it, warning of potential disruptions to the space-time matrix. She reveals Banazas' ability to use infinite skills and total acquisition magic, enabling him to wield any type of magic once exposed to it. Left with no better choice, Banazas restores the town using restoration magic. Later, they bring Haya back to their home where she introduces herself to Blossom and the others. Shocked to learn a literal djinn will now live with them, they react nervously. But Balarosa assures them everything will be fine. Following this, as Banazas is procrastinating just like you guys while watching this video, Balarosa appears at the spot. He apologizes to Balarosa for scaring the living shit out of her and reveals that he doesn't know how to utilize his powers. In response to this, Balarosa tells him that Banazas made her realize how important it is to not blindly follow something and always seek reason to use your power. Later that night, Banazas notices that Fenris seems a bit worried and questions her regarding this. Suddenly, Fenris forces him into a seductive position, even though they could have been talking while sitting. She inquires whether Banazas plans to return to his former world and implores him to bring her along. Upon hearing this, Banazas reassures her that he has no intention of going back and proposes marriage to her. Both of them then kiss under the night sky, and before Banazas could reveal his holy sword, Haya appears in their room. This makes them wonder if she overheard everything they said, to which she replies positively. Even though she wanted to fulfill her own nasty desires, she makes an excuse that she was keeping an eye on Banazas as her servant. Hearing this, Banazas forbids her from doing this, and have some common sense if she wants to live with them. The princess keeps searching for Banazas as she wanders around different shops and questions people regarding him. Meanwhile, Banazas and the useless freeloaders are having dinner as Fenris reveals that Haya helped her with it. Haya boasts that she wanted to do everything with magic, but Fenris refused since she wants to cook for Banazas herself. Instead, she wants her to clean the house and do laundry for them. Upon hearing this, Balarosa and the others feel even more useless and pathetic since they were responsible for doing these tasks, and now they have nothing to offer. To prove their worth, all of them come up with some ideas, like Blossom wants to cultivate some vegetables, and Larry decides to raise horses. Even though she wanted to become a coachman, all she can do is raise horses. Just as she is thinking about this, the horny horses get turned on and start licking her, which turns her on as well. Meanwhile, Loli Belano apologizes to her father and brother for being a pathetic loser who failed to become a knight. She then reminisces about the time when Banazas taught her magic and realizes that she actually wants to become a magician. Just then, a magic beast starts wreaking havoc at the fields and even targets Belano, who somehow manages to protect herself. Despite this, Balarosa's blind asks if they are all right and proceeds to do nothing as usual. Larry then utilizes her horse riding skills to calm down the monster and saves the day. This makes her realize that she is not that useless. She then asks if it would be possible to acquire some more land, as Balarosa tells her that Banazas might be able to buy some more. With all of this going on, Banazas and Fenris are finally enjoying some free time in the town, as Banazas wants to sell some stuff. Now that they are a married couple, Fenris comments that they can flirt with each other as much as they want. This makes Banazas blush since no one had ever flirted with his bitchless ass in his previous life. No wonder he doesn't want to go back. Following this, Banazas sells some salamander skin to a local trader who offers him magic gems in return, and Banazas chooses the prettiest one. Meanwhile, Fenris is standing outside the shop as suddenly, the entire town gets covered in dark clouds and an ugly monster appears from the sky. Sensing the danger, Banazas rushes outside and notices the monster as well. It turns out Damalinas, the apricot, and the hero-turned-monkey are the ones behind it. The evil witch immediately gets rid of the knights protecting the princess, as in the meantime, Haya also appears at the spot. She had also sensed some evil entity and rushed towards the town. According to her, Damalinas the Evil once used to rule over the Clearroad Kingdom as the strongest mage, but she was defeated by the hero of that time and sealed pedestal of the sword, where Haya was sealed as well. Hearing this, Fenris blames all of this on Haya, who accepts the responsibility and offers to defeat Damalinas herself. Meanwhile, Damalinas wants to get rid of the princess as soon as possible, but Haya interferes just in time and saves her sorry ass. Damalinas mocks Haya for being a useless djinn who cannot even grant wishes, only to get cooked immediately. Haya reminds her that a mere human cannot deal any damage to her, but Damalinas is way too dumb to understand this and keeps attacking her. As a last resort, she turns the ugly monkey into a massive monster, which scares the living shit out of the princess. Suddenly, the monkey turns back to normal, and it turns out Banazas has dispelled her magic. Seeing this, Haya apologizes for getting him involved in all this, and to make up for it, she gets rid of Damalinas by absorbing her into her own body and turns the monkey back to his human form. They decide to leave the hero to the knights since he is unconscious. Just then, the princess introduces herself as Elizabeth Clearroad and offers Banazas to become the hero, but gets brutally rejected. Banazas states that he won't be able to fight sincerely for humans and that he's already happy with his current life. In short, he doesn't give a shit about the kingdom and its people. After doing so much, the princess gives up, like I gave up on my dreams. Anyways, as Banazas and the others head back home, Baileri asks him to acquire more land so they can cultivate vegetables and breed magic beasts. This way, they can utilize the magic beasts to sell vegetables in the town and won't have to rely on Banazas. Hearing all this, Banazas agrees to negotiate with the town lord, but Balarosa and the others want to handle this themselves. Banazas then reveals the amount it takes to buy such land, which blows their mind. With no other option left, Banazas offers to buy the land for them, and in exchange, he asks them to pay 30% of the money they get from that land. With all this settled, Baileri and Blossom get to work. Banazas asks Blossom to grow some vegetables that are hard to grow in this area, since he can control the weather. Blossom, however, refuses, stating that she doesn't want to rely on him and wants to do everything herself. Just then, Hia appears at the spot and offers the same thing, only to get rejected by Blossom. Suddenly, Loli Bolano also appears and endorses Blossom to agree because she wants to see Haya use magic. It is revealed that Bolano has been hired as a teacher at a magic academy, which makes everyone happy. With this, all of this has been settled down and they have figured out what they want to do. Banazas also reveals that he wants to open his own store in the town, which excites Fenris. Following all this, the scene shifts to Balarosa getting married to someone, and that person is none other than the Dark One, Gozal. With the entire cheering for them, Illuminas announces that they will conquer the entire world as their wedding present. Balarosa refuses, but Gozal persists, and as he is about to kiss her, Balarosa wakes up from this horrific dream. She gets insanely flustered and wonders why she's having such dreams, even though she doesn't give flying F's about the Dark One. The following morning, as Fenris and Balarosa are cooking something, Fenris notices Balarosa's pale face and questions if something is wrong. Although hesitant, Balarosa tells her that she's been having nightmares recently and being a dumbwit, Fenris takes them as a sign of love. She concludes that Balarosa must be in love with someone. Just then, Bolano and the others also appear at the spot and start teasing her. According to them, that special someone must be the Dark One, since he used to visit them a lot because of her. Hearing all this, Balarosa gets flustered and makes some lame excuses. Suddenly, the conversation shifts to how Fenris and Banazas fell in love, as Fenris explains that she never thought about it, and the reason she fell for him was his naiveness. Just then, Banazas reveals himself, and it turns out he was listening to all this, which embarrasses Fenris. Suddenly, Banazas receives a signal from the barrier he had forged to keep demons away from the town. With all of this going on, a mysterious guy is standing outside the town like he's lost. Meanwhile, the ministers report to the princess that the gold coins they received from Banaza are actually road gold coins that are issued by the castle. Previously, Banaza had offered the princess some gold coins to compensate for town repair. Despite being a princess, the shameless woman accepts the coins like a desperate gold digger. With this, the princess and the others have realized that the useless hero they had summoned and banished is actually Banaza. At this point, all they can do is apologize for their deeds. Amidst all this, the pathetic hero and his ugly lackey are hiding from the castle guards. The ugly lackey reminds him that they are now fugitives as well as thieves, since they stole the bottomless bag from some treasure box. The hero explains that he took the bag as compensation for the prize he was offered for saving the kingdom. Well, his luck isn't that great since he only manages to find a drill dozer shovel in the bag, but that still allows him to hide from the knights by creating a hole as deep as your understanding of quantum physics after watching one YouTube video. With all of this going on, Illuminus reports to the Dark One regarding their inability to locate Banazas so far. She further postulates that they must have left the kingdom, but the Dark One clarifies that teleportation magic cannot take you to places you haven't been to, so they couldn't have left the kingdom. Upon hearing this, Illuminus asserts that it would be unwise to prioritize searching Banaza instead of focusing on the main battle. She further explains that they can use magic beasts to spread malicium and eventually take over the castle. But the Dark One is still persistent. He explains that Banaza can single-handedly destroy their entire army, so finding him takes priority. He then apologizes to Illuminus for being a brat and explains that he doesn't want to sacrifice his own people to win this battle. After this, another demon reports to Lord Uigard that the Dark One is trying to recruit a human into the Dark Army instead of focusing on the battle. This infuriates Uigard as he believes that Gozal has gone soft and eventually decides to seize the throne to become the Dark Lord himself. Meanwhile, Banaza and Fenris are shopping in the town as Fenris suggests that they should have lunch together now that they are alone. On their way, they come across an old hag named Haldi, who is abandoning her shop because her suppliers lost their lives during the previous war. This makes Banaza realize just how devastating wars can be, and as they are discussing all this, Balarosa appears at the spot. She offers to treat them to lunch, which Banaza politely accepts, even though Fenris doesn't seem quite happy about it. Suddenly, Haya also appears there and warns them regarding the presence of a strong demon. It turns out that the demon is actually Gozal, and with this, all of them have lunch together. During the lunch, Gozal explains that he usually visits such towns to gather intel on humans, which makes Balarosa question if he is gathering intel on them right now. In response to this, Gozal replies positively, which infuriates Balarosa, but Banaza calms her pathetic ass down. Gozal explains that the demons are a threat to humans owing to their malicium and have been oppressed for a long time. Being the Dark One, he cannot accept such oppression. This makes Banaza realize that this conflict is deeper than he thought, and with this, Gozal leaves them alone. On their way back, they come across Balano and the others as Banaza keeps thinking about Gozal's remarks and how it can be resolved. As they are walking back, Banaza suddenly hugs Fenris from behind and expresses his gratitude for being a part of his life. Meanwhile, the hero and his lackey are attempting to escape the hole they dug themselves. Eventually, the ugly lackey reaches the top, but her massive melons prevent her from getting out. Just then, the hero gazes upon her overpowered ass and loses his control. As Fenris prepares dinner, Balarosa and the others praise her cooking skills, as Fenris credits Miss Mileno for all this. She even went to meet her during her visit to Hautau Town, where Fenris expressed her gratitude for teaching her. Hearing all this, Mileno decides to teach her family meals, including meals for babies, just in case Banaza unleashes his nasty desires. As they are conversing, someone knocks at the door and Banaza rushes to open it. It turns out that Princess Elizabeth is even more clingy than my little brother and is here to convince Banaza once again. This time around, she addresses him as Banaza instead of Fleo, which makes him realize that they have discovered his identity. Being the goody two-shoes he is, Banaza invites her inside where Balarosa serves her tea. She then asks Balarosa and the other freeloaders to leave the room since she wants to discuss something with Banaza. Fenris, however, refuses to leave, and Banaza also insists that Fenris stays with them. With no other option left, the princess has to agree. After Balarosa leaves, Elizabeth apologizes to Banaza for all the wrongdoings their kingdom had done to him and begs for his forgiveness. Being a Chad, Banaza refuses to accept her apology and questions the reason behind all this. The princess then reveals the whereabouts of her army, which is top secret information. This shocks Banaza as he cannot comprehend why she is telling him all this. The princess further tells him that the effect of purification will wear off soon and their mages are yet to recover their mana. Using their troops, they can prevent the demon army from invading the royal capital, but that will leave some towns vulnerable. Since Banaza has refused to join their army, she wants him to at least protect these vulnerable towns. This infuriates Fenris, as she doesn't want Banaza to protect these ignorant fools who treated him like trash. The princess further reveals that she is planning to arrest the king for unlawful appointment of the false hero and will lead the kingdom herself. Fenris interprets this as the princess using Banaza as a stepping stone to the throne. But Banaza calms her down. He has realized that the princess just wants him to guarantee that he won't join the demon army, as the princess also agrees. By revealing classified information to him, the princess wants to make sure that Banaza will keep quiet and not cause any havoc. She tells him that she just wants to protect those towns and urges Banaza to help them. Meanwhile, the useless hero and his lackey have finally managed to escape the hole, but now they have to get rid of the knights chasing after them. Amidst all this, the lackey gets hungry and the hero offers her some food. At least she is loyal, unlike my pathetic ex.
Emotional damage.
At this point, the hero is shocked that she is still following him around, contemplating the reason behind it. In response to this, the lackey questions the reason he is keeping her by his side as getting rid of her is an easier option. This makes the hero blush, and as they are conversing, a weird spider appears out of nowhere and traps them. Just then, a demon appears out of nowhere and kidnaps them as sacrifices for something. Later that night, Banaza rethinks his decision of not helping the princess and eventually decides to help them. The following day, the demon army ambushes a nearby town where the citizens are instructed to evacuate. Despite the warning, a girl remains behind as she is collecting berries. Just as the demons are about to attack her, Banaza and Fenris appear at the spot and forges a barrier to keep the demons away. At this point, Banaza is helping the kingdom without any compensation, and Fenris deems him way too soft. Banaza clarifies that the moment he agreed to negotiate with the princess, he had lost. Fenris misinterprets this as Banaza agreeing to marry the princess and gets shocked. She has even more trust issues than my pathetic ex. Banaza reassures her that he won't be marrying the princess. As they are conversing, a Cyclops appears at the spot and boasts to obliterate Banaza's barrier. According to Fenris, the Cyclops are considered the strongest tribe among the demons and serve directly under the Dark One. He recognizes Fenris as Lupin and mocks her brother for dying a meaningless death. Hearing this, Fenris decides to take down Cyclops by herself and challenges him to a battle. The massive monster keeps swinging around his humongous weapon, but fails to hit Fenris even once. Meanwhile, Fenris bites off its muscles since she doesn't want to kill him. The demon mocks her for being too weak, but Fenris clarifies that she doesn't want to kill and is taking it easy on him. She then utilizes gravitation magic to pin down the demon, eventually taking him down. Seeing this, the Cyclops instructs other demons to ambush her, but Banaza intervenes just in time and traps all of them. He then teleports all of them to Delaweza Forest and offers them to surrender without any battle. Fenris suggests that they should have injured them to scare them off, but Banaza refuses to injure anyone. He asserts that this will further alleviate the hatred between humans and demons. Just then, the villagers of the town express their gratitude towards Banaza for saving their sorry ass. Meanwhile, the princess has also received intel that a mysterious adventurer is saving towns from the demon army, as she immediately realizes that Banaza must be behind this. With all of this going on, the Dark One receives intel that his brother Uigard is staging a coup against him and has already seized the throne room. Hearing this, the Dark One rushes back to the castle where Uigard has kidnapped the hero and his lackey as sacrifices to borrow the evil god's powers. At Banazas' place, the Dark One and Illuminus ask if they can stay with them for some time, which shocks Banaza, and he questions the reason behind it. Previously, the Dark One was informed by his underling regarding the coup staged by his brother Ugard. Upon hearing this, the Dark One rushed towards his castle where Illuminus had already gathered the Infernal Four. Illuminus suggests that they should put the traitors behind the bar, but some of them are against it. They suggest that this duel might be the impulse Lord Gol needs to become the real Dark One. Even though they are loyal towards him, they believe that the Dark One's methods are way too soft. Upon reaching the throne room, Ugard's lackey, Fufun, explains the rules of this duel and urges them to not interfere. Illuminus tries to argue with her, but Fufun ignores her, acting as if she doesn't notice due to her tiny presence. This infuriates Illuminus, and she ambushes Ugard, but her attack is way too weak as Ugard smashes her away. Just as Fufun is about to deal the finishing blow, the Dark One appears at the spot and saves her. Seeing Gol, Ugard challenges him to a battle, but gets brutally rejected. Ugard further explains that his underlings are also sent to this duel, since they deem him unworthy of leading them. This makes Gol question the reason behind all this, which infuriates Ugard. He reveals that Gol often visits human towns and indulges in amusement. He even refused to resume the advancement when they had a clear advantage over the enemy. Some people have started doubting that the Dark One might side with the humans and has no intention of conquering them. All these factors have led to the conclusion that Gol is not suited to lead the Dark Army. With no other option left, Gol unleashes his dark aura as Ugard instructs him to swear to the Dark Ring to pledge the throne. Amidst all this, Gol's underlings are fascinated to witness his true power. However, much to their surprise, Gol announces to relinquish the ownership to the Dark Ring and announces Ugard as his successor. This shocks everyone as they were not expecting this. Ugard deems this as mockery and ambushes Gol, only to get his ass whooped. Gol expresses his gratitude to his underlings and takes Illuminus with him. With all of this going on, the useless hero and his lackey are tied there helplessly as they wonder if they can flee. In the present, Fenris is shocked to hear that Ugard the Useless has become the Dark One. Illuminus further explains that they have no money for some reason. Just then, Balarosa appears at the spot and pisses herself as usual after seeing the Dark One. Banaza also summons the other useless woman to get their opinion regarding this matter. To release some tension, Gol clarifies that he is no longer the Dark One and he cannot live in the demon territory. He further explains that since Banaza is his only acquaintance in the human world, he can rely on him only. Despite all this, Fenris still cannot comprehend how the almighty Dark One is now a pathetic homeless guy with no money. Illuminus explains that Gol donated all his money to the intel unit she led. According to Gol, it was inevitable that he had to step down if he didn't gain enough support from the masses. Banaza then questions the useless women regarding their opinion on Gol staying with them. Blossom and the others have no objection over this matter, but Balarosa seems concerned. She doesn't want them to stay with them, but Fenris blackmails her into agreeing. With this, the Dark One and Illuminus are also staying at Banaza's homeless shelter. Fenris, on the other hand, is just happy that they have gained another strong ally. The following day, Gol visits Blossom and Bilary to help them with their work, but gets brutally rejected. He then visits Banaza's weapon storage where he admires his efforts as Banaza explains the procedure behind everything. Seeing all this, Illuminus cannot comprehend how the Dark One is behaving so friendly with mere humans and seems more lively than when he leads the Dark Army. Later that night, Banaza and the others have dinner alongside Gol and Illuminus. All of them are having a great time, except Balarosa, who seems a bit distant from them. Following this, as Blossom and the others are sleeping, Balarosa is standing on the balcony, staring at the stars. Just then, Banaza and Fenris appear at the spot with some herb tea and cookies. Fenris had noticed Balarosa's peculiar behavior and wanted to talk about it. Balarosa explains that she is a pathetic loser who has nothing to offer, unlike others who are working hard for their living. She further explains that even though demons have their own resentments, she still cannot accept them, since she had witnessed her brutally injured comrades on the battlefield. In response to this, Banaza clarifies that it is all right to feel this way, and according to him, Gol is probably staying here to keep an eye on them. Fenris then wonders why Balarosa is fine sharing the same roof with Fenris, even though she wanted to kill her. To make her feel slightly better, Fenris asserts that she taught him to bake cookie, which is a massive achievement for a loser like her. The following morning, Balarosa announces to Gol and Illuminus that she will accept them, but if they ever harm a human, she will never forgive them. Hearing this, Gol proceeds for a complimentary handshake, but Balarosa refuses this, stating that she will shake his hand after trusting him completely. With this, Balarosa and Saibi head towards the forest for hunting. With all of this going on, the useless hero and his lackey have also escaped from the Dark One's castle. They remind me of Team Rocket. Meanwhile, Ugard cannot comprehend how his army is losing against the humans, even though their forces should be superior, and he demands an explanation from Fufun. She explains that the humans had set many traps along their way, which resulted in multiple casualties. Being the musclehead he is, Ugard instructs her to crush the human army with sheer numbers and smashes her away, since figuring out a strategy is her job. After Ugard leaves, the Infernal Four comment on his dumbness to lead the Dark Army and deem Gol to be far superior. They further assert that the Dark Army will collapse if things continue like this. Upon hearing this, Fufun announces that she has devised a strategy to boost the general's morale, and that is to arrange a get-together. With all of this going on, Fenris and Banazas have won the first prize at an event which is a trip to the hot springs. This makes Fenris insanely happy as she is finally getting a chance to enjoy some alone time with her husband. However, the smile on her face fades immediately after knowing that she can bring up to 15 people with her. With this, Banazas decides to bring Blossom and the others to the hot springs as well. On their way, Bolano comments that there are 7 hot springs on this island, and they have multiple benefits including revitalization, skin beauty, and enhancing fertility, which piques Fenris' interest. After this, all of them head towards the Kinosaki hot springs where they are offered yukatas. Amidst all this, Fenris questions a worker regarding the hot spring to enhance fertility as she informs her about the Yanagi hot spring and wishes her luck. As they are heading towards their rooms, Blossom bumps into an ugly ass guy and apologizes to him. It turns out that Ugard and the Infernal Four are also present at the hot springs to boost their morale. Even though they have transformed into humans, Gol and Illuminus still recognize them immediately. Gol suggests greeting them, but Fenris forbids him, stating that nothing good will come out of this. She further forbids them to cause any trouble. Otherwise, she will never forgive them. Following them, they reach their respective rooms where all of them decide what to do. Bilary seems a bit suspicious as she wants to hang out alone, while Balarosa keeps staring towards Gol for some reason. Fenris, on the other hand, takes Banazas to the Yanagi hot springs as Haya offers to accompany them, but Fenris refuses her proposal and forbids her to disturb them. With that, they all head towards their respective destinations. Haya then enters her psychic world to meet the ugly witch, who questions her motive. Haya asserts that she wants to conduct an experiment as she cuffs her to a bed. Since she is quite curious about the mating process after witnessing Fenris and Banazas perform and wants to experience it herself, even though she doesn't have the necessary equipment for it. She then forces herself onto the witch, who resists, stating that both of them are women and cannot physically perform this act. Hearing this, Haya clarifies that being a djinn who commands the light and dark primordial, her very being transcends gender. Despite this, the witch kicks her out of her consciousness, which makes Haya realize that she is lacking something. In the meantime, Banazas and Fenris have reached the Yanagi hot spring, where Fenris gets disappointed to see that the hot spring is separated into male and female sections. Despite this, they are able to converse through the wall as Fenris starts talking about their honeymoon, as Banazas gets a boner and he decides to leave. Meanwhile, Bilary has reached a treasure room which showcases sexual customs across the ages and is basically a corn room. Suddenly, Haya also appears at the spot and forces Bilary into the room with her. Blossom and Bolano are enjoying themselves with some drinks and food alongside Gol and Illuminus. Meanwhile, Balarosa keeps staring towards Gol, which makes them wonder if she's into him. Gol also compliments her yukata, which flusters her as Illuminus urges him to stop flirting with her. With all of this going on, Yigard and his lackeys are enjoying their lunch at the inn while criticizing human food as if they are Gordon Ramsay. Yigard then instructs them to entertain him as Fufan performs a disgusting dance, which grosses him out and he smashes her away. Playing a game, some random-ass demons start fighting, as in the meantime, the useless hero has also reached the hot springs alongside his ugly lackey. They had stolen some goods from the demon castle, including a mysterious crystal. The hero plans to sell it for some money, but much to his disappointment, the crystal starts accumulating malicium and possesses the hero. With all of this going on, Banazas approaches Illuminus and urges her to stop drinking. She then questions Illuminus if she wants Gold to become the Dark One again, to which she replies positively. According to him, the demon society is maintained by the Dark One's individual strength, and Gold is undoubtedly the strongest. Hearing all this, Banazas concludes that Illuminus loves Gold, which flusters her. Just then, they notice the possessed hero destroying the inn and get shocked. Luckily, Banazas is there to save the day as he protects the people residing inside the inn and instructs Fenris to take a closer look. Gol and the others have also realized that Yigard must be behind this. Banazas and the others rush towards Banazas to help him, but Illuminus stops them, stating that their useless ass can't do shit to that demon. Despite this, the useless women persist and rush towards their death. With no other option left, Gol also decides to help Banazas and teleports towards the demon, where they come across Fenris. Yigard also notices Gol present there and challenges him to a battle since he was getting bored. Gozal is on the rooftop with Illuminus and Fenris, facing off against the new Dark One, Yigard and his associates. Banazas observes the situation and tells Blossom and Balano that she will notify Sir Fleo. They agree to begin evacuating the people. Yigard attempts to attack Gozal with his magic and his monster, but Gozal effortlessly deflects the attacks. Banazas quickly notifies Fleo about the sudden appearance of a monster causing chaos. She informs Fleo that Gozal is engaged in battle against both the monster and Yigard, the Dark One. Fleo expresses his trust in Gozal and feels reassured knowing he is fighting the monster. Gozal briefly falls under Yigard's control, but quickly overpowers both the monster and Yigard. He discusses with Illuminus how Yigard's ability to control Malicium poses a threat, especially since he is attempting to control Gozal as well. Fenris intervenes, declaring she will handle the situation after they interrupted her trip with her husband, Fleo. Using short-distance teleportation, she swiftly approaches the monster and knocks the hero aside with a powerful punch. Tsuya calls out for her master as he is thrown away. Gozal catches Tsuya as she falls, reminding her that he promised not to harm humans. Yigard tries to retaliate against Gozal, but each attack is effortlessly countered. Meanwhile, Illuminus deals with Yigard's associates. Gozal employs his deflection spell and lands several punches on Yigard. Yigard transforms into a purple demon furiously. Gozal seizes Yigard's face, asking for forgiveness as he temporarily suppresses Yigard's Malicium. Without Malicium, the source of his demon strength, Yigard is reduced to a mere human. Gozal explains to Yigard about a spell crafted by humans to vanquish demons, detailing how he perfected it to defeat the previous Dark One. Yigard reacts angrily upon hearing the term human from Gozal. He sure hates humans a lot. Meanwhile, the management of the hot spring facility is left with no choice but to apprehend the intruders and get rid of them. As a precautionary measure, they enchant the guest yukatas for emergencies and promptly teleport them away. On another front, Fenris continues to slap Hero for disrupting her peaceful vacation, getting disturbed, while Hero's loyal attendant, Tsuya, pleads for his release. Banazas intervenes, urging Fenris to cease her actions and evacuate everyone from the premises so Fleo can begin repairs. After Fleo restores the building, everyone pitches in to clean up. Hero and Tsuya manage to evade the hot spring administration. Fenris is delighted to finally relax in the Yanagi spring. Later, the girls enjoy their time in the spring. Initially hesitant, Illuminus eventually takes the plunge and finds the water not too hot but rather soothing. She is jealous of Banazas' alluring and seductive figure. Hia and Bellary relax together, with Damalinas teasing Haya for being a horny djinn in a women's bath. Haya responds playfully, suggesting Damalinas is just jealous and shouldn't disturb their intimate moments. Blossom and Belano inquire about their activities, prompting Haya to jokingly tickle Bailery. Meanwhile, in the boys' spring, Fleo and Gozal take bath together. Fleo reflects on never imagining he'd share a spring with Gozal. Gozal responds, expressing his long-standing interest in Fleo from the beginning, but in a respectful manner. He appreciates Fleo for his strength and resolve, noting how he uses his abilities to foster peace between humans and demons. Gozal talks about the possibility of forging a new relationship between their races together. Fleo responds by suggesting he may have overestimated. Gozal emphasizing that there's no magic capable of eradicating conflict from the world. However, he expresses confidence in finding trustworthy friends. They shake hands, affirming their commitment to support each other. After their bath, they enjoy a satisfying meal together. As a gesture of goodwill, they offer Fenris a special ill pie. Gozal praises the sake, while Ulaminas indulges in fish. Bellirosa enters to thank Gozal, who acknowledges the gratitude, but Ulaminas interrupts, feeling jealous and disrupting their somewhat light romance. Later that night, everyone is fast asleep. Fenris and Fleo finally have a chance to be alone together. Fenris shares that she no longer feels troubled by humans, and Fleo acknowledges her role in resolving conflicts between humans and demons. He explains that she serves as a reminder to him not to favor humans over demons or vice versa, expressing his desire for her to accompany him wherever he goes. She agrees, and they share a kiss in intimate moments. The next day, Fenris is noticeably energetic, radiant, and in high spirits with glowing skin. Blossom and Bailery inquire about her cheerful mood, realizing what likely transpired between her and Fleo. Haya, feeling left out, expresses frustration at missing the event while they shared it together. They then prepare to return home. Belano expresses gratitude to her rabbit Saib for gathering vegetables, wanting Belano to have the best produce for her first day as a teacher. Meanwhile, Hia uses magic to grow vegetables, and Blossom finds them unexpectedly delicious. Fleo and Gozal are busy forging weapons when Ulaminas teases them about opening a shop. Gozal agrees, prompting Ulaminas to remark that humans wouldn't use weapons crafted by a former Dark One. Bellirosa joins them and expresses gratitude to Gozal for creating a shield, which sparks Ulaminas' typical jealousy. She changes the subject, informing Fleo about the upcoming inauguration ceremony. Gozal reassures them that Ugard's powers will remain suppressed a bit longer, ensuring Castletown's safety. Meanwhile, the Maiden Queen instructs her knight to locate her father, who fled due to the scandalous rumors spreading across the kingdom. In town, soldiers search for the hero while he digs a hole nearby. His loyal servant Suya, in tears, watches him dig, which makes him express his belief that he will one day be recognized as a hero. Fleo and Fenris return home, where Fleo proposes selling the sweets Fenris makes once he opens his shop. Fenris happily agrees and suggests involving Bellirosa in the process. Fleo adds that they should incorporate the vegetables grown by Blossom as well.